Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys. Hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm PVSB, your humble and incorrigible co-host. When I'm not co-hosting this fabulous podcast, I spend a little time working as a partnership acceleration lead at Flywheel, a division of Omnicom that helps brands grow their e-commerce business. My co-founder and co-host, well, y'all know him. He goes by one name. He's the father of the music phenoms, Lara and Rhea Raj, husband of Kavita Raj, who has her own podcast, Lights, Camera, Conversation, on iHeartRadio. He is the patriarch of the Raj family media empire. Of course, I'm talking about the man known as Shri. Hey, Shri, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. So great week for us. You're at Unboxed. I'm up in Chicago being the MC for the Nielsen IQ Client Advisory Board. More importantly, the Yankees won. They're up 2-0 in the ALCS. The Dodgers are 1-1 tied. I think our dream of a Yankees-Dodgers game in the postseason might actually come true.
It might. I've got tickets to Game 4 out at Citi Field, so I'm going to go out with my dear friend Jim Muller, who I met in business school. Props to Jim, and his wife Muffin listens to our podcast. Yes, his wife's name is Muffin, but she loves listening to the podcast. And I've got tickets to Game 6, which I'm hoping to take our dear friend Steve Saul from Nielsen IQ. Really comes down to whether the Yanks even let it get to Game 6, because right now they got a 2-0 lead, and that means, the Guardians can only make a couple of mistakes, and they're done.
All rise, the judge is here, because baby,
please,
Dinger.
Finally, he comes to life. Back. Finally, he comes to life.
We look at Judge, we look at Soto. We look at Stanton. I mean, they've all had great seasons. Stanton has been on fire in the postseason. Our hidden hero is Gleyber Torres, our leadoff hitter. He's hitting 300 in the playoffs, but most importantly, he's been hitting 350 in the second half of the season, and it's bled into the playoffs, which has been absolutely bad.
So who's the AL MVP, Shri?
Let's move on.
Is it Soto?
No.
Not a Yankee?
It's going to be Judge.
It's going to be Judge. Okay.
58 dingers is hard to fight against, even though Ohtani has records himself under his belt.
Who's the NL MVP? Who's the NL MVP?
That's a waste of time debating. You know the answer to that.
It's Shohei Ohtani. Here's the thing. Guess what next year will bring with Shohei Ohtani?
Pitching.
He's throwing the ball next year. In addition,
the only thing I'll tell you, Peter, is when you're throwing the ball and you're exercising your arm that way, you're not hitting at the same pace.
We'll see.
You're not allowed to steal bases. You are not going to be allowed to steal bases.
You don't think so?
No way. Not that
Try
many
and stop.
bases. All
right. We've been boring to death our audience with baseball talk. Most of us, people like Pat Burke, who watched. Poor Pat Burke. Can we just say our dear friend Pat Burke, a lifelong Chicago White Sox fan, his team couldn't even muster, 40 wins? It was a tough season on the south side of Chicago. Pat, we love you. We're so sorry. I know we're not using you as an excuse. We love you to death. We're sorry that your team has just had a horrible 2024. But hey, there's always next season, right, Shri? We how many times have you and I said that?
Look, it wasn't a tough season. All I'm going to say is they had a very interesting season.
They had an interesting season. What is it? What is that old Chinese proverb? We live in interesting times.
Something like that.
Something like that. But anyhow, enough of baseball.
Not here.
So you and I made our way to Las Vegas last week for the annual Groceryshop conference. It's an event put on by Hive Group, which also produces Shop Talk Europe, Shop Talk Fall. What's the one down in Florida? Possible, and a whole bunch of others, right? So they are a big trade show organizing company.
Shop Talk Barcelona.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about, first of all, what was Shop Talk? It was an event that brought together people, brands, retailers, service providers that loosely are involved in the digital omni-channel ecosystem. Some great stage conversations. Our friend Fiji, who runs Instacart, was there. Kroger's chief merchant, Stuart Aiken, spoke. There were probably around 4,000 people. I don't know about you, but I think the numbers were two things I'll notice about the attendance. One, it didn't feel like it was as big as last year. Now, some of that may have just been a perception, and I'll let you tell your perspective, because there was another conference going on in Mandalay Bay that was substantially larger, and I think it made us feel, in comparison, relatively small. But the thing that I did notice was just the level of the archetype of attendee was not quite as senior as it had been in years past. I'd love your thoughts.
A couple of things I want to point out. Ahold Delhaize's global CEO was a keynote.
Yep, he was.
CEO of Pepsi Beverages were there. So there was no dearth of senior leaders from corporate America.
On stage. Agreed.
Attendance, I'm going to say there was definitely a decline. It was quite visible, especially because I kind of broke up my time between all the different things we have at CPG Guys, and we're going to talk about all of that in my other company, Think Blue. So I was actively in a booth for some portions of the show, and I got to tell you, the traffic was bits and bytes. It wasn't like yesteryears where I could have recorded a podcast from the show floor. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's fair to compare to Shop Talk, but I do think it's fair to compare to Groceryshop in years past. And I agree, Shrey. It was, the numbers they didn't feel like they were there. Without the people at Groceryshop / Shop Talk giving us those numbers, we can only go on our perception. And I think that we had the same perception.
Yeah. Hold one sec, Peter. So I was talking to some people today who were at the event with me last week from another company, and they were saying even the keynote concert was very poorly attended.
Oh, it was actually very well. I don't know if okay. So first of all, the concert involved Ja Rule, right? So I'm not going to pretend to be a big hip hop fan of the 90s and 2000s or whatever era he came from. But talking to my wife, Sarah, who is, her words to me were the following: he's no Ludacris. And that's fine. But I didn't have a lot of desire to go. I decided to go make an appearance because our friend Christina Marinucci was there, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to be down on the beach. Can you come hang with me?" So I did. By the time I got there, it wasn't that far into the concert. It was the beach was pretty. There was lots of space. Let's just say. There was a lot of space. It wasn't like when I went to Shop Talk Europe and they had an offsite party, and it's like there wasn't room. You were jammed in there. This was.
I look, concerts one thing, overall attendance is one thing, but let's talk about what we enjoyed.
Yeah. So our grocery shop actually started on Sunday. We got in there early. You came in early Sunday morning. I came in Saturday evening. And the CPG guys threw a kickoff party at the Eye Candy Lounge, which is a very large lounge in the middle of the casino floor. The room holds about 300. We invited 200 people. Most of them are brands and retailers. And that's about what our attendance was. We'd done a party at Shop Talk, and we did it at the Kumi Steakhouse, and it could barely hold 100 people, and we had people lined out the door who never got into our party. So fortunately this time, we got a space that could hold 300, and we invited 200, and so everyone had room. And the message I got back was the crowd that we drew, Sheree, was frankly better than any party crowd that Shop Talk itself, Groceryshop itself, was stalking by incentivizing the brands and retailers to come to the party.
So how many people do you think we had? About 225,
We had about
250?
I don't know if over the
200.
course of the night, maybe that many at any one moment. I don't think we broke 200, but I do. People came and went, right? But we had the full team from Walmart Connect. We had people from 8451. We had Diageo. We had a lot of people from PepsiCo. A lot of my colleagues from Omnicom and their various subsidiaries were there. We'll post all the pictures from the step and repeat wall that we had people come to, but suffice it to say, Shri, we invite a lot of our friends and they all showed up in spades and brought some of their senior people too. And I think by all measures, we had the best. If you were someone who wanted to network with retailers and brands, there was no better party, no more target rich environment than the CPG Guys kickoff party.
No debate over that.
And all of our sponsors who made the party possible. I want to thank, Smart Commerce, Nielsen IQ. I want to thank 345 Global, RD Solutions, Recess. We had
Line Leap,
Pat Burke. We had also from Europe, We Grow. We had a great group. Rocked also. Rocked was the last one on the list, but the feedback from all of them was, "Wow, did we bring the game to that party?" So, to those of you who are listening, we are already planning a party for CES, and it is going to be bigly, as some people would say.
A couple of reminders I want to give ahead of CES, because CES is January. We're doing two big things that I'm not so sure we've showcased very well.
No.
The first one is we are partnering with the Pat to Purchase Institute on the annual Omni Shopper Awards to be given away in Chicago.
Yep.
Brands, campaigns. We're actually partners in this. It's a breakfast November 14th morning, 8 a.m.
Yep.
And select winners will actually get to feature on the CPG Guys. That doesn't happen by accident until we ping you. So for service providers, if you're interested in knowing more, just sponsoring the event or sponsoring the breakfast that morning and attaching your name along with some elite group of winners and brands, get in touch with Peter or me or drop us a DM. Just drop us a message.
Slide into our DMs, as the kids say, right, Shri?
Slide into our DMs, but also an email to contact@cpgguys.com works. And Peter, I want to mention the second one. We're partnering with Ensemble IQ again on the drugstore news side with John Kenlin in the first ever HBC HABA Awards at the 21st edition of the Drugstore News Issues Summit, December 4th, iconic Lincoln Center. You want to get involved? If you're in the HABA HBC space, Who's Who from Retail is going to be there with us.
Yeah.
A lot of conversations all day long. You can attend the entire day, be with brands, retailers, and then partake in the award ceremony.
Get your name associated with the very first Total Store Awards for HBC HABA. It's going to be awards will be given out to both retailers and a couple of brands for new product launches, consumer experience on site and on mobile app. We're really trying to make it a meaningful set of awards that have been designed and then voted on. So it's going to be a fantastic event. It's December 4th at full day, Lincoln Center, as Shri said, right near the beautiful fountain where I'm sure some of you will be taking your kids to see the Nutcracker Suite over the holiday season. And it happens to be adjacent to the NACDS board meeting that's taking place the day before New York City. So we strongly encourage you, you want to learn more, look in the digital liner notes of this podcast. We'll have a link to all the information. Big event. And then, of course, Shri, the Mac Daddy of them all, right? The fact that you and I have partnered with Cornell University to launch the first of its kind retail media strategy in-person executive education certificate program with Cornell University, the Johnson Graduate School of Business. That means if you attend this, you walk out with a bona fide Cornell certificate in executive education. We are bringing together the major players in retail media on the retail side, on the brand side, on the service provider ecosystem, all with the express goal of accelerating the move from the traditional economy of linear television and print media and moving into how should brands budget for retail media? How should they invest? How should they collaborate with retailers? And retailers, what do you need to do to make your platform something that is appealing to brand marketers, that delivers the full funnel activation and the performance marketing measurement that helps them justify modifying their budget to incorporate retail media not as a trade practice, but as a true brand building practice. So it's going to be, in the words of my fellow Wesleyan alum, Lin-Manuel Miranda, that is going to be the room where it happens, Sri. There's no debate on this. We've already gotten commitment. We have already gotten commitment from 4 of the biggest retail media platforms in the industry to have people in the room and in front of the class teaching. 2 big, very familiar national brands and 1 major insights provider. And we've only been at this for 2 weeks. This is going to be a huge event. And we highly, highly encourage you to reserve your seat. Only 60 people. It's May in New York City on Roosevelt Island at the Cornell Tech campus. It's going to be a big event. Shri, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, it's a chance to engage with retail media providers networks directly. More importantly, as a brand, it's a chance to actually build proper JBP plans for your retail media and integrate it into other bigger picture media plans that you already have. So it's going to be epic. We're working with some of the largest retail media networks that exist in the world. You'll hear it routinely and oftenly here on the CPG Guys. I'm going to bring us back to Groceryshop, and I'd love to talk about 2 amazing things we did. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a podcast we actually did live, and then I'm going to talk about some other things we did for a retailer. But on Tuesday afternoon, we had a chance to do something we had never done before, which is actually do a live podcast recording from the Tech Talk stage at the floor of the convention exhibition space, which I thought was pretty cool. We had Melissa Emmerich from ADUSA talk to us about what's going on with the ADUSA Media Network, what's changing, what had changed since they last came on the show. Bobby Watts had come on 2.5 years ago. And it was a new learning for us, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing a live podcast from the convention floor.
It was great, and we had a good attendance in the audience. I know Stuart Aiken stopped by and watched most of our recording from KPM or from Kroger, more proper. But very good event. Our sister podcast, CPG Scoop, had a conversation with a PepsiCo executive on the Tech Talk stage the day before. And then after we left, Nancy Wanet, our friend from Amazon Ads, who's coming up on our podcast, she did a presentation on Tech Talk stage. So it was really good. A lot of good people walking through that stage, sharing strategic, valuable conversations to the audience at the show. I thought that was pretty darn good. There were meetups going on, Shri. I only went to one, and the only one I went to was I met with Claudia Johnson's husband, Ben, who runs marketing for Red's Naturals. They make frozen burritos. You can find them in Costco and a bunch of other stores. But kind of avoided the meetups because I love doing them. I love meeting new people. But ultimately, in the past, I haven't found them to be that productive.
Yeah.
I think the hosted meetings where brands are paying, or not brands, but service providers are paying to meet with brands or retailers specifically, and those people have been incentivized to meet with these service providers in exchange for supplementing their travel and attendance at the show. I think those are very valuable. The straight up meetups, they were really novel, but in retrospect, I've been doing them now for about 1.5 years. This year I walked away from them. It let me, you had totally done it, I think, for a couple
I've done
of
it.
shows.
I've done it in the past, Peter. Except I'll tell you one thing. I actually talked to a lot of service providers about the value of the meetups. What they actually said to me, Peter, was they actually did get a lot of value out of it. You know,
Okay,
the way they're counting value is if they have 15 meetings and they have two follow-ups, it's actually a 10% follow-up rate.
that's good.
So that's the conversation people had with me, and they were saying, hey, there was some value that they got back in return. I think the hosted meetings ecosystem still does get the basics from a value standpoint to the
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
absolutely to the day for most service providers. So I'm going
So
to
there's a
move up.
trade-off here, right? When you go to a smaller, so relatively smaller, grocery shop is relatively smaller than Shop Talk, right? 4,000 versus like 10 to 12,000,
The
right?
keyword is relative.
It's relative. But when you have a smaller pool, then maybe the quality of the meetups are not as great as they would be at Shop Talk. The counterpunch to that is, I don't know if you tried to go to a meetup at Shop Talk. It was like 3 football fields. Like I would have a meeting at table number 12, and my next meeting would be at table number 1748. Like you and I can't move that fast to get to that second meeting on a timely basis. That was just a little unmanageable.
Speak for yourself. I'm just
Well,
kidding. I'm just kidding. But there's a marked difference, Peter, between, I would say, what's going on at Shop Talk and Grocery Shop, right? Grocery Shop, grocery, Shop Talk, grocery, and general merchandise. So obviously, it's just going to attract a lot
yeah,
more people. But I'm gonna move us now to a couple of things we did with
sure.
Kroger Precision Marketing. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed hosting two panels and then you doing the meet and greet post the panels for Kroger Precision Marketing. The first one was with Meta. We had
yeah,
a very good conversation about how it's full funnel activation and that upper funnel audience is started to come back. The measure is important once again, which is impressions, which wasn't the
yeah.
case for the last 4 years with retail media because all lower funnel conversion. And then next day we did one. I did
Let
one.
me add one thing about that. The first panel, it was not only Meta, it was someone from Danone, and you were talking about executing retail media in a category where perishable delivery is still not a huge component of the ecosystem, right? Most delivery is focused on shelf stable products because consumers are still a little concerned about what's the quality of the work. But Jenny Holleran, who was the person from KPM on the panel, she reminded us both that Kroger Blue Truck Delivery delivers quite a good amount of perishable products on a frequent basis. But it was such a solid conversation with Meta, with Danone, with KPM. You did a great job moderating that, Sri.
Yeah, it was awesome. But one of them will get converted to a podcast with Henkel, or
Yep.
maybe it was the other one. Maybe it was the other
No,
one.
no,
But
the
one of
one with
them
Henkel is we're converting. The Henkel had someone from Henkel, and then of course our dear friend Barbara Connors from 8451, not the Kroger Precision Marketing. And I'm trying to remember there was one other person on the panel. This is horrible that I'm already forgetting exactly who it was, but it was. I will just say this: it was so nice.
it's been a long 10 days. I'll
I
give
know.
you that.
It was so nice of our friend Brian Spencer at KPM to reach out to us, to invite us to these private sessions, an opportunity to moderate, to meet the people that were coming in to the KPM meeting room. Those were both really great conversations. And I think what you brought to it, Sri, was you weren't just moderating, asking questions. Having been, as recently as May, a formal practitioner in the CPG space from your CCO role at General Mills, you were offering your own POV and commentary. And I think that made the panel so much richer.
All that means, Peter, is we're about to hit November, and the climate of CPG from a volume perspective hasn't changed. That's why
Oh,
people can resonate to it, which is not a healthy outcome for the CPG industry overall. Let's talk about the hosted dinners. Why don't you tell us, who the two suppliers were, what they do, and then what kind
sure.
of dinners they were.
So after our party on Sunday, we hosted a dinner along with a company called Recess, and we had back a couple months ago on our podcast a fellow by the name of Jack Shannon. Jack's company Recess does experiential sampling that is connected to driving consumers to retail. And so we held a meeting. It's definitely a solution that plugs very well into a retail media ecosystem. And so he was mostly interested in meeting retail media network people. So boy, did we have a great dinner. We had several people from Walmart Connect. We had our Ryan Mayward, Whitney Cooper was there. We had Molly Jelm from Dollar General. We had Anthony Seiler from KPM. It was a great, great dinner. We held it at Kumi Steakhouse, and it was conversations were being had. People were moving around from seat to seat to get to know each other. Thought it was a really, really great dinner. We were so honored to be able to bring all those people together. The second dinner.
Can you just share a little bit more about what Recess does?
Yeah, Recess does experiential sampling. So they do this at venues that are close to retail. So think about it at a sports gym that's nearby. They make sure that sampling is available and that consumers are directed to go to the retail stores that are nearby where they can actually buy the full product. So they've built a really interesting platform. They drive a lot of consumer engagement and a lot of consumer conversion at retail. So they have been building awareness, building out their portfolio of clients. We're very happy to have worked with them. They're a top-notch company. If you don't know who they are, Recess, we'll put a link. It's not recess.com. It's like recess.is, I think, is the URL. We'll make sure to put the correct URL in the digital liner notes of this episode. But really great conversation. The second night, we went offsite and we had dinner at Catch at Aria, and that was a hosted dinner with Rokt, R-O-K-T. They are a company. They've been on our podcast. And what does Rokt do? Rokt basically lives in the retail media ecosystem. Well, it lives in the e-commerce ecosystem. And what it does is it lives at the moment of transaction. So let's say you're on grocery retailer A, you buy some product, you click, pay. It says you have converted that transaction. Your order will be delivered at this time on this day. And right at that moment, what Rokt does is they add additional value on behalf of the retailer for the consumer. They are typically non-endemic opportunities that says, hey, thanks for completing your transaction. We have a really great offer. And those offers are targeted and they're non-endemic, but they are helping enhance the margin associated with a transaction for the retailer, and the consumer gets a value that they wouldn't get if not for having done this transaction on the retailer. So we helped bring together another great group of people. It was a full room at Catch, and we really enjoyed being able to work. Thank you, Lauren and team, for a lovely evening. It was very nice, and thank you for having the CPG guys involved in that.
I also thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, the social conversations we were able to have in the moment. Groceryshop about what's going on from omnichannel retail. Has volume slowed down from omnichannel retail? E-commerce is still the only growth channel that exists for most brands and retailers. I just want to say that one more time. E-commerce is the only growth channel that exists for a lot of brands and retailers.
If you're a brand and you're looking at the growth rate for e-com versus brick and mortar, there's a very odd tendency to say, we don't need to put any we don't need to put any logs on the flame in e-commerce. It's already growing well. We need to focus on brick and mortar. And I think you and I both agree. No, this is when you put your foot on the gas and you get even more out of e-commerce that's going to help you compensate for the declining numbers you have at retail. E-com is your saving grace if you're a brand this year. It's the only area that you're growing in. I know that's a blanket statement, but generally speaking, it's the only area where you're growing in. You should be accelerating e-commerce. You should not be reallocating investment to the brick and mortar channel where there are too many problems already and you're seeing absolutely no growth. Thoughts?
Absolutely, Peter. But I want to move us now to the countless. I don't know how many I just lost track because we went to countless amount of receptions,
Hmm.
cocktail receptions for so many different service providers. I want to thank each one of you from the bottom of my heart
Hmm.
for inviting us to the receptions. You all know who you were. Peter and I enjoyed doing this, and we probably hit 7 or 8 receptions in 2 days, which was great. We were able to meet a lot of industry associates, colleagues, blast from the past. It was just a fun time doing that. But I also want to
Yeah,
sincerely say thank you one more time.
on Monday, Medium hosted an event called Candid Commerce, um, right in the Mandalay Bay, and it was something that we were involved with, along with our podcast partner Daniel Torres Wire from the FMCG Guys. And it was a great event at the Prohibition Bar, right there on the bridge between Mandalay Bay and the Luxor. And it was a really terrific event. A lot of people showed up for that. It was really great. And then that was Monday, and then Tuesday night we went to a lovely little. We went to 2 parties. One that Flywheel was hosting in partnership with Syndigo, that was on the Foundation Room on
Great
top of.
view, by the way. I gotta
Beautiful
say,
view. Beautiful
awesome.
view. We got to see the Tropicana before it went down. It was a great
I
view
was
from there.
literally like 4 hours or 5 hours before it went down.
Yeah,
Maybe,
it was right before. And then we walked down the hall to Libertine Social and had a lovely dinner and cocktail reception with our friend from Epsilon. So we saw a lot of old and new friends there. Thank you, Heather Campaign, always for being one of our favorite shopper marketers in the industry for being there. And we saw Ted, who runs their retail media business. Just ran into a lot of great people. It was a lovely event, and that was Tuesday, right? And then that was a pretty big event. And I also want to say, a lot of people who saw us at the show, you might have noticed that we had, for lack of a better term, an entourage, right, Shree? So
I gotta say thank you to Jomo.
Yeah,
It was AV
and
team
Zeke.
followed us. Yep, for following us through all of this. This is the first time Peter and I had attempted anything like it, and it worked out perfectly. Which means, Peter, I want to talk about a visit to the Las Vegas sign, the historic.
Oh yeah. So anyone who
Viva Las
knows
Vegas.
me knows that I like to kick off any show in Vegas by an early morning trip down to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, which is about a 5-10 minute walk from the Mandalay Bay down the strip. And you and I Ubered down, so we were, we're men of a certain age. We figured, why not do that? But we got there at about 7 o'clock, and there was already a line forming for taking pictures.
By the time we got done at 7:45, there were 100 people in line.
Oh, at least.
No slowing down in the line to take a picture. I mean, it was. I had fun doing that, but then I made you come with me to the Luxor because I don't know why, Peter. 30 years of going to Vegas, I'd never taken a picture in front of the Sphinx.
So we went the next morning. Or the next morning. It wasn't that morning. It was the next morning.
Yeah, we took the train the next day and actually took a picture with this in front of the Sphinx.
So if you look at the sizzle reel that we posted of our time at Groceryshop on our LinkedIn page, you can see us at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. You can see us at the Sphinx. But you know what my favorite part about going to visit the Welcome to Las Vegas sign was, Shree?
Tell me.
It was us doing a rendition of your daughter Laura's touch dance from the video, where they interact their pinky finger and their thumbs back and forth. And then you did the little hip move that just almost floored me. That was some good comedy, Shree.
It was fun. My daughter didn't notice it. I'll say that. But my daughter wasn't the only one who noticed it. I'm here in Chicago today. Other people noticed it, and they tell me that they thought it was pretty cool that we even attempted to do whatever.
I think that just goes to show something, Shree, that we're really honored that so many people follow us on LinkedIn, that listen to us banter about baseball. We talk about our families. Because you know what? And somebody asked me about that. Like, you guys are very open and talk about your lives. And there are two components to that. One is that that's who we are authentically. I mean, you and I do that all the time. We do it with ourselves. We do it with other people. So we're not being inauthentic, but there's also kind of a method to our madness, because some of the content we cover on this podcast, Sri, in and of itself is pretty dry, right? We get a little technical, right?
Well,
And
Peter, 30 years I've been saying it's a very tough business. Somebody's got to have a sense of humor.
well, exactly. And so we look at what we do in this podcast. Here's a little inside baseball, people, so pay attention. Our podcast is the Mary Poppins of podcast. What I mean by that is a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. A lot of the content we talk about, ad unit blocks, incrementality measurement, that can be some pretty heavy stuff and not necessarily entertaining. We do our best to keep you entertained, because if we do that, you learn in the process. You learn a lot.
You're gonna make me sing Salagadoola, Menchikaboola, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. Thank you, Peter. Put them together, and what have you got? Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. It's a tough business.
Speaking of which,
or like just chill,
speaking of which, I am making a trip down to Florida this March on my daughter's spring break. We're going to spend a couple of days.
Is it called Disney
We're going to
World?
spend a couple of days in Orlando. And when I told Nadia over the weekend that we were going to go to Orlando, she looked at me and she said, "So we're going to go to Disney, right?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "So you're going to make an appointment for me at the Bippity Boppity Boutique, aren't you?" And I'm like, I knew that question was coming, and I had an answer. And the answer is, of course. You're my daughter. I'm your dad. We're going to the Bippity Boppity Boutique.
What about dinner with Winnie the Pooh?
Did they have a dinner with Winnie? I got to check that out. I didn't know that.
They do.
I do know this. I'm going to take her to lunch at Cinderella's castle. That's going to be a big event.
Oh yeah,
she loves that.
I remember.
She'll get the Boppity Boutique. Will get her all glammed up as in her favorite. She's already told me the order in which she would prefer her princess regalia to be. So her number one on the list is Elsa, followed by Chloe, who is the daughter of Cinderella in the Disney reimagined Descendants video series that you can find streaming on Disney Plus. And number 3 is Princess Red, the daughter of the Queen of Hearts from Wonderland. So she already knows who she wants to be.
None of this is a surprise. I actually miss these things as I have grown up children. But
there are people listening to this podcast that still appreciate this, right, Trey?
Oh, totally. What else did we end up doing in Vegas? So we went. So this is what it sounds like to the average person. Y'all did a bunch of podcasts. Y'all had a party. Lots of people came. Y'all went to a bunch of cocktail parties. Y'all had awesome dinners. Come on, man. We did much more than that, didn't we?
We spent a lot of time walking the floor, connecting with everyone who was there, having conversations, some long, some short. But let's face it, Groceryshop is an enormous networking event. And for us, it's kind of like going to reunion. It's kind of like going to homecoming. It's our opportunity.
Homecoming is the word I would use. I wouldn't say reunion.
It's an opportunity for us to reconnect with people in the industry in real life, have that communication, set up some future conversations. It's a great venue, and we maximized with all the things we told you we did: the parties, the hosted dinners, the events, the panels we spoke at. The CPG guys were ubiquitous at this event, and our goal there was to connect with as many people as possible. I think we accomplished that, and I thought a lot of people doing the same thing.
Absolutely, thoroughly enjoyed being at Groceryshop this year. I want to thank the listeners of CPG Guys who stopped by, who took pictures with us.
Yep. A lot of people did.
The show. Again, without them, the show doesn't exist. We're very thankful to all of you for listening and chiming in weekly. DMs, emails, comments, suggestions, recommendations, connecting us with guests perhaps. All of that is required to continue to be the show that we are right up top of the CPG universe. in terms of downloads as well as in terms of where we rank from a show perspective.
Now, I did go to one session, Shri. I did make it to one panel session.
I made it to a net zero of none.
But the one I went to was, as the French would say, de rigueur. It was Wednesday morning before I was leaving, and it was an 8:45 a.m. panel, and it featured our dear friend, the head of global analytics for Mondelez International. I'm talking about Christina Marinucci.
Of course. How did that go? What did we learn?
It was great. She came on stage, talked about how they invest in retail media, how measurement is a core component. She knocked it out of the park. She did a great job. So kudos to Christina. We're going to have her back on the podcast soon because she is definitely a thought leader. She's making a lot of appearances. She has quite a great POV on analytics, on loyalty, and on retail media. So Christina, thanks for doing such a great job on stage. And we'll have you back on the podcast in short order. But short of that, that was my grocery shop, Shri. Here's what I say. If you're going to go to one of these shows, you plan out what are the outcomes you're looking for. You and I sat down and mapped out the outcomes we had in mind. And from my perspective, we delivered those outcomes in spades. Everything we wanted to do at that show, we did. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you and I had been planning it for weeks, if not months, right? So my advice to everybody going to these trade events is don't just show up to shake a bunch of hands. Plan who you want to shake hands with, which events, parties you go. There's no doubt in my mind, attendance higher, lower, irrelevant. This is still one of the premier events in the industry if you're in the omnichannel space. Show up, take advantage, leverage, learn from each other. Let me bring this grocery shop episode to a close with that, Peter. But, we rambled a lot about baseball, our personal lives, families. We kid you not, this is who we are. That is by intent. This wouldn't have been fun if we hadn't done that. I want to thank our followers for everything you do for us, for being at the convention, for being guests, all our sponsors at the various events we did at Grocery Shop, not just our party, but podcast recordings, cocktail receptions we went to, hosted dinners we were a part of. Without you, we don't exist. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See you soon on another episode of, go ahead, Peter,
of the CPG Guys podcast. Goodbye. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.